Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to Unfiltered radio show right here on the Real Talk Radio. My name is Jason. I'm the pastor of Roots Church, and I am so glad that you are joining me today. We have a lot of things to cover, some current stuff, and then just some maybe challenging stuff that I've thought about that I would like to discuss and maybe just give you some information. But before we get into that, just in case if you are listening today for the very first time, I feel like we've been having a lot of brand new listeners, and maybe some of you don't really know what this show is about. I want to just kind of give you a heads up. I'm a pastor out in Clair Missouri called Roots Church. And this is a platform for me to be able to talk about things in an unfiltered way when it comes to the topics of social, political, and biblical topics. So, I'm just addressing things from a pastor's perspective, and it's a lot of fun. And so I'm glad you're joining me today. If you have questions or you'd like to make a comment, you can do it in the Real Talk app, or you can text me directly at 314-924-4215. Again, that number is 314-924-4215. Let me talk about our show sponsor. I have one main show sponsor so far. That is Silo Restaurant in Sullivan, Missouri. It's silorestaurant.com. I encourage you again and again and again to check these guys out. Stop in down in Sullivan, Missouri. Give their buffet a try. They have one of the largest salad bars in all of Franklin County and probably the state of Missouri. They have some very unique menu items. They've added some menu items, and they're constantly changing some of the menu items to keep things fresh and new for their loyal customers. So go to silorestaurant.com, check them out, stop in at Sullivan, let them know that you heard this little blurb on the Unfiltered radio show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so let's talk a little bit about something that just continues to transpire. It seems to be week after week. I felt like it was kind of going away, but it seems like it's coming back again. And quite frankly, it's extremely frustrating to me. And that is the subject about transgenders being in women's sports, or more importantly, what I want to talk about is the transgender movement getting into beauty pageants. Yes, whether you're a trans woman or a trans man, they are now allowing in certain areas for you to be involved in a beauty pageant. I'm just so disturbed that ladies are not standing up for this. If you are a biological woman and you're entering a beauty pageant anywhere, I don't care at what level you're entering it, and you have someone else that is a transgender man wanting to become a woman, or a woman that wants to be a man entering the beauty pageant, if I'm you, I'm backing out. If I am, every woman, every true biological woman needs to completely step away from that pageant just for the sake of trying to prove a point to that you are not going to allow this movement to degrade the way God made you. It's unbelievable. We see transgenders winning in sports left and right, taking away medals and hard-earned work from a real biological girl. Right now, I'm looking at an article where it says a trans-identifying male wins a girls' cross-country regional. This male teen won a high school girls cross-country championship in Maine. Oh, we're talking about Maine. I know there's some terrible things happening in Maine, and we're going to talk about that too a little bit later. But it says that this trans man beat the runner-up by nearly a minute and a half. I'm not even going to give credit to the person's name at all. You can look it up if you want to see who it is. Doesn't matter to me. I don't really care. But the 15-year-old trans person finished the 3.1 mile in 19 minutes and 17 seconds. And that is 22 seconds faster than the second place finisher. This is what blows me away. Let me look at it right here. So this trans person competed in the boys division of the C-South raced and finished 14th with a time of 19 minutes and 36 seconds, which was the fastest freshman. This is a freshman boy wanting to be a girl. He is now competing in girls cross country, and now because he can't win in the boys division, he goes to the girls division because he knows he has different muscles and he's stronger because he's a male. Again, that doesn't mean all males are stronger, but when you're in a competitive sport, that's the way it works. That's why they have male and female sports. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. You are not ignorant of this. You absolutely understand this. This is not degrading to any one person. These are just the facts that I'm telling you. It's unreal. Why are we still allowing this nonsense? Now we have a transgender, I can't even talk today, a transgender, because it's not supposed to happen. That word shouldn't even be in our vocabulary. That's why I have a hard time saying it. It shouldn't even be in the English language. That's why I'm struggling. It's not supposed to be there. A transgender man entered a beauty pageant, or I should say, hundreds of transgender men are entering beauty pageants now that there have been a few that have been crowned winners. That's the title. Let me open it up and read the article to you. It's unreal. Trans men enter Miss Italy. Where'd it go? All the doggone pop-up windows. Whatever happened to the pop-up ads not being around? There we go. Let me get rid of it. All right. Trans men enter Miss Italy pageant in droves after trans women are told they can't compete. Did you hear that? Trans men are entering the pageant in droves because a trans woman cannot compete. This doesn't even make sense to me how they're allowing this. More than 100 transgender men have entered the pageant this past week. I don't even know what to say. I literally don't even know what to say. It's mind-boggling. In New Hampshire, there was another beauty pageant that took place. I'm actually going to post the picture of this transgender model who won a local Miss America pageant for the first time ever in New Hampshire. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you're not going to like what I'm going to say, but I'm going to tell you the truth because somebody has to say it. A beauty pageant is for someone under the guidelines that are beautiful. And I understand beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But all the beauty pageants that I have ever seen in my 48 years of being on this earth, I have never seen a woman who is overweight win a beauty pageant, ever. I'm not saying that those overweight women aren't beautiful in their own way, but when you're entering a beauty pageant, usually there's a particular guideline that you have to go by. On top of that guideline, now this person is a male. And when you look at the picture of the person that won up against the other girls, I mean to tell you, it is mind-blowing. I'm going to post it on the app and show you a couple pictures of this person. Now, why didn't these girls bail out of that competition? As soon as this man entered the competition, they should have bailed. They should have said, nope, we aren't doing this. And the only person you're going to have in the beauty pageant is him, not her, because her is a him. He just wants to be a her. And he's not a her because of what's between his legs. And I know that everybody probably listening to shows know that. Even they know this. They're just ignoring it. They are believing a lie for whatever the reason is. Maybe they had trauma in their childhood. Maybe they weren't accepted of the kind of man they were, or because of the kind of woman they were. And so therefore, in the transgender community, it is definitely a mental health issue. You are not mentally healthy. Therefore, you change your identity to go along with what you feel and how you're accepted. I just don't understand what my goal today, and the reason why I'm talking about this is because what I want is I want women to start standing up for this. I want every woman across the world that when a man who wants to be a woman wants to participate in a woman's sport or in a beauty pageant, those women need to bail out immediately. They need to put their foot down. This is not about Democrats and Republicans. This is about standing for the right thing. And every one of you know what the right thing is. So ladies, let's do this. Let's do this together. We'll support you. I'm sure there'll be another organization that'll start another beauty pageant for a real woman, not a fake one. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back after the break. You're listening to Unfiltered on the Real Talk Radio Network. Back from the break, and we're going to jump into a new topic. But before I do that, I would like to talk about another sponsor of mine for this segment, and that is the Roots Cafe out in St. Clair, Missouri. We are celebrating 1 year, so we have a birthday celebration, and I want you to know that this week, all the way until today, basically, it started on Monday, it goes all the way to today, so today it ends, but it is 50% off all of our food items that we have. And we have a couple new menu items that we've added. One of them is a barbecue brisket panini, and the other one is a French dip panini that we just added to our menu with lots of soups and salads and crepes and tons of different things. I also want to let you know that we have extended our hours. We are now going to be closed on Mondays, but we are going to be open Tuesday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., and then on Saturday, it's still the same time. Well, we opened up an hour earlier, 6 to 2. So I want you to come out, give us a try. If you're in the area, we're located right off of Highway 44 in St. Clair, Missouri. You cannot miss it. Lots of parking for big trucks, RVs, trailers, you name it. We've got a space for you. Roots Cafe out in St. Clair, Missouri. Extending their hours for more of the evening times for people to try to come and try us out. So I want to thank Roots Cafe for the sponsor of this particular segment. This segment, we're going to talk about what is going on with the protests that are happening in New York. These college students that are protesting in New York, Chicago, San Francisco, some of the main big cities, they're protesting. And it says pro-Palestinian activists in New York City chant Nazi sentiment at an anti-Semitic march. And it says there's only one solution. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to tell you right now, if there is any one person that is in the United States of America that supports terrorist attacks and they're chanting anything that is killing Jews or anyone for that matter, these people need to be arrested and they need to be deported. If they're foreigners, their visas need to be taken away because that is not what America is about. That is not why America was founded. Sure, you have freedom of speech. You have freedom to worship. You have freedom to live the way you want to live within a certain boundary of laws. And here in America, we want to love all people. We want everybody to have the freedom to believe what they want to believe. But when you start marching the streets and chanting murder, that's where it ends for me. And I don't know how in the world our government and our police forces will not do something about this. Sure, they have arrested a few of them because they got into fights with people, which is another insane situation. It's absolutely insane. Here's what DeSantis, which I like. I don't think DeSantis obviously is going to win the election in the primary against Trump. However, I do think he's a future candidate for being president, and I would absolutely vote for him. There's some things, that I think he needs to get a little stronger on, in my opinion, but most of the things I am in full support in. But he actually says on foreign students cheering Hamas. As president, I'm canceling your visa and sending you home. I love that. I think that's exactly what Biden should be doing right now, but Biden won't do it because he's weak. Biden is being controlled by the left. Biden isn't even making these decisions. It's his people making the decisions. He's just nothing but a puppet. We all know this. It's not like I don't like the man as a man. I don't like his belief system. I don't like his political system. I don't like what he stands for. And I definitely don't like how he's running this country. We are literally opening the borders wide open for hundreds of thousands of people to get through the border. And we don't even know who these people are that are coming in. And ladies and gentlemen, that's scary. That is absolutely scary when you think about it, that we are allowing foreigners into our country and we have no idea who they are and what they're capable of. Not even close. I'm actually I'm an ambassador for an organization called ADF, but they put out this I get this newsletter and different updates and information of all the things that are going on around the world. And this is called AFPI, which is America First Policy Institute. And I got a letter just literally 2 days ago, maybe it was 3 days ago, because it is Saturday. But I got this letter, and let's see who wrote the letter. It was the executive director of the AFPI. And this is what they wrote. I'm going to read it to you because it blows my mind. This is you need to understand where we are with the border. We are absolutely in a humanitarian and a security crisis along the southern border and throughout the American communities. You guys need to know that. And the Department of Homeland Security finally published an updated border numbers in the last several days, and the situation, unfortunately, continues to worsen. So for those of you sitting out there thinking that Biden and his administration is doing squat, or I shouldn't say squat because they're not doing squat. If you think they're doing something about it, they're not. They're literally doing the opposite. Let me read this to you. In September, the Department of Homeland Security encountered 269,735 illegal aliens at the southern border, the largest number during a single month in American history. Well, there's something Biden's making history on. How many people he's allowing in through our borders illegally. Unsurprisingly, the fiscal year of 2023 was the worst on record for illegal apprehensions at the southern border. Ladies and gentlemen, you are not going to believe this. There have been 2.47, almost 2.5 million people that are on record that they have been apprehended at the southern border illegally. 2.47 million. The 3 years of the Biden administration are responsible for the 3 worst years of illegal aliens trying to cross the southern border in history. Yet, the southern border numbers are only part of the illegal immigration story. There are hundreds of thousands more illegal aliens being unlawfully paroled into our country that are not included in these numbers. Nationwide, we had a record 3.2 million encounters with illegal aliens crossing the northern border and the southern border who are being unlawfully paroled directly into the U.S. and through an international airport. What do you guys think about that? It's unbelievable. Nobody's talking about these numbers. Well, there are people talking about the numbers. Don't get me wrong. I'm not the only one. There are a lot of people talking about the numbers, but there are a lot of people that are not paying attention to the numbers, because when you go to vote, you need to be thinking about these things, because these things matter in who you're voting for. You do not want to vote for a weak president that will not stand up against foreign nations that are fighting against the country that we support, one, Israel, but on top of that, trying to fight us as well with terrorists coming into our country. We need to secure those borders more now than ever. Let me read this last bit. The number of known or suspected terrorists coming across our southern border surpassed 280 during the Biden administration, and there are at least 1.7 million known gotaways that entered our country undetected and are not recorded in official government data. If that's not enough to concern you, then I don't know what will. Roughly 96% of illegal aliens who entered our country have been released into the American community of their choice. Got to take a break. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, back from the break. Hope you stayed with me. I hope you are in shock just as much as I am as far as the numbers that we just talked about of illegal aliens coming across our borders and all the different nonsense that is going on when the first segment of transgender men trying to compete in beauty pageants and transgender women trying to compete in beauty pageants as men. They're women, but they're men. Let me back that up. They are women biologically wanting to be men that are actually participating in a woman's beauty pageant. So you're going to see a man-looking person in the beauty pageant, not a woman. And they're also allowing men who are wanting to be women in those beauty pageants as well. It's complete insanity. On top of that, we've got people right here in America. We don't know. Most of them are not U.S. citizens. They just have visas. They're here temporarily until their visa runs out. And these people are literally chanting Nazi sentiment stuff, anti-Semitic, just spewing this language out of hate against Jews, but yet we're allowing them to stay right here in the United States. We're doing nothing about it. Those are the things we're talking about. It's completely insanity. The border is completely wide open with millions of people illegally crossing that border, not knowing who they are, not any data on them. And let me remind you, not paying any taxes, which is draining the U.S. of their money because we're taking care of people that do not pay into the system. We already pay enough. We are taxed and taxed and taxed. Something that I'm going to talk about, how we are taxed. I just cannot believe how much we are taxed. It's unreal. So in this segment, this is what I like to call the meat and potato segment. And I want to get into something completely different. Today's show is just a montage of just different topics because, I don't know, I just felt like doing a bunch of different stuff. This one has to do with relationships. Are you dating someone? Are you wanting to marry someone that has a different belief than you? And do you think that's healthy? Should you date someone? Should you marry someone that does not believe the way you believe? I mean, they got a great personality. They're handsome or they're pretty or beautiful, whatever it is. You're attracted to them. But yet their belief system does not line up with yours. And I'm talking whether it's a religious belief, a spiritual belief, or if it's political. Hit me up in the chat right now. Do you think that a person should date someone or marry someone that has a different spiritual or political belief? I want to know in the chat right now, because I'm just going to tell you my answer is no. Absolutely not. I'm even going to take this to a little bit of another level of even in the spiritual side of things. I'm not saying that a Baptist can't get along with a Pentecostal. We see it all the time. We see couples all the time. They love Jesus, but at the same time, one person grew up under the Baptist organization. Somebody else, the spouse, grew up under the Pentecostal organization. And ladies and gentlemen, that is like oil and water mixing, because the Baptist can be super legalistic, and so can the Pentecostals, but it's in a religious way. Legalistic in two different ways. And so is that healthy, and should that happen? Can a Lutheran date a Presbyterian? Can a Methodist date a non-denominational Christian? I mean, what does the Bible say about all this? Well, the most important issue, obviously, is whether both people know Jesus Christ as their Savior. That's the most important issue. I do think that there is a chance, if you're a Baptist and they're Pentecostal, I think there's a chance that you can make it work as long as Jesus is the center and it's not the denomination. Unfortunately, I'm a pastor, and I have a lot of people coming to this church. We have, 800 that show up every week, but we probably got about 1,400 that consider Roots Church their home home church. They just don't come all the time. They don't come every week. The average church attendance these days is one time every 6 weeks. So that's about 1,400 people that roughly attend Roots Church, just not weekly. And we have a lot of people. We have a lot of people that are dating someone who is not a Christian. We have people that are dating each other that have completely different, even political beliefs, whether one's a Democrat, one's a Republican, one's a Libertarian, one's the Green Party, whatever, independent, there's whatever your party is. And we have some that we have a lot of married couples that actually both believe in Jesus Christ, but they grew up differently in different religious organizations. And I'm just going to tell you my opinion first, and I'll get into what the Bible says. My opinion is this: if they do not believe, if their belief system does not line up with yours, whether that's spiritual or political, then no, you should not date them. And definitely no, you should not marry them. If you both believe in Jesus Christ and one's a Pentecostal and one's a Baptist, I'm not telling you no, you cannot date, and I'm not telling you no, you cannot marry. But what I am telling you is you better have some hard conversations while you're dating of what that's going to look like when you get married. What kind of church are you going to go to? And is the other person willing to go to the other church of whichever one you choose? Are you willing to raise your children underneath whatever that theology of which church denomination you believe in? Because the Baptist theology is much different than a Pentecostal theology, just like Lutherans and Presbyterians and Methodists and all the other ones that are out there. So I'm just saying you need to have a good conversation about what that's going to look like. I'm not saying you shouldn't. What I am saying, though, is if they do not line up, if they are not a Christian and you are, you should not be dating them, period. If you are a liberal and someone else is a conservative, but yet you are still a quote-unquote Christian, I'm going to tell you, no, you should not date them, because you are going to have major problems in your marriage. Ladies and gentlemen, let me help you with something. A lot of people believe that when you get married, it solves problems. I want you to know that when you get married, your problems are multiplied by 7 times. That's why marriage is hard. And that's why when you work through your marriage and you work through your problems, it can be beautiful and amazing and rewarding. Anything that you have to work for is going to be completely rewarding. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people that don't want to work through their problems. They want to give up. They want to quit. They just want the other person to change. And that's not how a marriage works. Biblically speaking, the Bible does specifically talk about this, and it is biblical that you should not be dating someone that without the same beliefs. 2 Corinthians 6:14 says that we should not be unequally yoked. And this only refers to a believer and an unbeliever specifically. But you can take the same principle. Okay, the Bible doesn't always have to spell everything out for you to have wisdom, because it's not if it's right or wrong, is it wise. It's not necessarily wrong. Biblically, it's not my opinion. Biblically, it's not wrong for you to have an alcoholic beverage drink. There's nowhere in the Bible that says that you cannot have a drink. It does say that you should not get drunk. That's the difference. But just because you can doesn't mean you should. If you have an addictive personality, or maybe you get angry when you drink, you shouldn't drink. If you have a family history of alcoholism, you probably shouldn't drink. So just because you can doesn't mean you should. But when you look at the principle, God's saying, listen, you should never be unequally yoked. When you think of what a yoke is, it's this wooden bar that they hook 2 oxen together with so they can plow a field together. Well, when they're unified and their goal is the same thing, they can accomplish many things. But when you have one ox that is not a Christian and you have one ox that is a Christian, and the ox is the example, by the way, not that an ox can get saved, then you have them going 2 different directions, because what a Christian does is they give financially. An unchristian says, I'm not giving my money away. That's my hard-earned money. A Christian says that we are to forgive people. Well, an unbeliever says they don't deserve to be forgiven. Well, neither do we, but we still do it. So there's all these different things that Christians are supposed to be doing, and an unbeliever doesn't even believe all those. So whenever you get in a relationship and you're trying to do what a Christian's supposed to do, the unbeliever is going against you, and you're going in two different directions, and that is not healthy. So what it doesn't do, though, is the Bible does not refer to two believers who happen to have some beliefs that are different. Again, if both individuals know Jesus as their Savior, then there is no reason biblically why they could not date or get married. I just think you have to have wisdom, because it does not say that there wouldn't be potential problems in your relationship because of the issues. That's why the couple needs to sit down and come to an agreement on what church they're going to attend and what are going to be the major disagreements in the doctrinal theology beliefs of those two different denominations. And so the couple must maybe agree to disagree, and at the same time agree on how they're going to raise their children and how they're going to live out the Christian faith, because it's all going to matter. And a lot of you people do not think about this. And then you get married, you get in a relationship, you get married, and all of a sudden you have all these problems because you think differently and you don't think about it. These are the things that you should be thinking about before you get married. To me, it's called common sense. So it's best for a couple to agree doctrinally, but the most important issue of faith is definitely Jesus Christ, loving one another, loving, or even the love for one another, and the desire to have a God-honoring relationship. That's the most important thing. Oh, man. It is tough, man. I've just seen way too many challenges, and I get people upset with me. They get upset with me for saying things like, you shouldn't be dating the person that's sitting next to you because they don't believe the way you believe, and they just think. I've actually had, literally, after I teach a message on this, I will have the ladies be convicted that they know they're doing things they shouldn't be doing. They know that the man that they're dating is not the quality of a man, of a godly man. And so after the series of maybe relationships that I teach, I have had men come up to me mad because their girlfriend broke up with them because they were not godly men material. And I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? I didn't make them break up with you. It's not my fault that they broke up with you. It's your fault for not being what you should be or what they're looking for. That's why we have this phrase, become the person you're looking for is looking for. If you're a Christian woman and you're looking for a Christian man, well, you need to understand that Christian man who is serving God, loving God, putting God first, trying to do all the things that God wants him to do, he's looking for a woman that is going to do the same thing. So if you're a woman looking for that kind of man and you're not living that way, then that man is not looking for you. That's why you got to become the person you're looking for is looking for, which means you are equally yoked. It's not difficult. And you wonder why a lot of relationships don't work out. It's because they're unequally yoked. That does not mean two people that are equally yoked aren't going to have problems. They will. Absolutely they will. I can tell you they will, because I'm one of those. My wife and I have been married 27 years, getting ready to be 28 in just a few months. And we've had our share of problems. But you know what we do? We go to God. We pray about it. We ask God to help us see what we're doing. And then we try to change what we're doing because we love each other. We care about each other. And if you care about somebody and you consider them, then you'll change what you're doing that's hurting them. It doesn't mean you got to change your personality. It doesn't mean you got to change who you are necessarily. Sometimes it's just changing our behaviors. A lot of times we hear things like, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. This is why this whole phrase of unequally yoked is important in our relationships. I hope this is helping somebody. We got to take another break, and when we come back, we'll wrap up the show with something a little bit more fun. We'll be back in just a minute. back from the break, and we have been talking about relationships, talking about being unequally yoked, and I'm curious if you're just joining me and you missed that last segment about should a person date someone who does not believe spiritually or politically like them. Let me know what you think in the chat. Yes or no. And then you can tell me why if you want to. I'd also like to know if you have a topic. You have a topic you'd like for me to discuss. Now, last week somebody put in the chat a topic, and I know I responded to them and said, yes, I can do that, but I forgot to write it down. I went back to the chat, and guess what? It was gone. So if that's you, can you please put back in the chat what it was that you wanted me to talk about? Because I would love to be able to discuss that next week on the radio show, or anything else anybody has. Whatever it is, I will tackle it. Even if I'm not very knowledgeable on it, I will become knowledgeable on it for you, and I will research and study and reach out to people that might be more knowledgeable than me and find out what it is, and I will talk about it. That, again, you can put that in the chat, or you can text me at 314-924-4215. That number one more time, 314-924-4215. If you know somebody that would like to sponsor my show, we have different levels of show sponsors. They can sponsor the whole show, which comes with a lot of things, or you can sponsor just like a segment of the show. There's a lot of different options out there. Just give them my number, 314-924-4215, or you can email me at jasongaszak@gmail.com. It's all spelled out, JASONGAZAK@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you either way. And who knows, maybe I'll get a bad email. That'd be fun too. All right, let's go into this last segment here. And something I found, we're going to kind of use the last segment just for like a free-for-all. But there's an article that I found. Again, this is going to include you to chat with me in the chat about what this is. I saw this article and it says White Castle. First of all, how many like White Castle? I love White Castle. I'm not necessarily fond of what it does to my stomach after I eat White Castle. Isn't it funny how we do things? We love it, we eat it, and then we hate it afterwards. My question is, why do we keep going back for it? I guess it's because in the moment we love it. It's kind of like a tattoo. I love getting tattoos, but I hate it in the moment. It hurts. Oh, it hurts so bad, especially when they're in those real tender, sensitive spots. But yet we keep going back and getting more tattoos. It's funny how that works. But White Castle, they are rolling out a fry cook robot across the U.S. So the article reads, robots are slowly taking over fry cook duties across the Midwest. Fast food chain White Castle has been outsourcing some of its jobs to robots. The hamburger chain has been implementing Miso robots. I guess that's how you say it. And it's called the Flippy 2 across the country. Now, I looked at the video of this thing. It's just a huge piece of machinery with a robotic arm that actually dumps fries into the little basket, and then it dumps the fries into the grease, and then it shakes it, and then on a particular timer, they pull them out, and then it dumps it into this big bin where they then scoop the fries up and put them in the bags or the boxes or whatnot. And I got to tell you, the idea is genius, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, it's consistent. Is that not part of the issue when you go out to eat these days, that the food just isn't consistent? Maybe you get a guy back there that's just not having a great day and he's just kind of being lazy, so he just doesn't cook the fries long enough, or maybe they just get too busy and then the fries are cooked too long, and then you got to go walk back up to, whether it's McDonald's or White Castle, whatever fast food joint you're going to, and then you got to tell them, well, my fries are cold, or my fries aren't cooked long enough, my fries are this. It's inconsistent. The same way they make the sandwiches. I mean, if you think about it, the pictures on all the screens of Wendy's and McDonald's and Burger King and all the different places, fast food, the pictures of the food look scrumptious. But then when you get the actual food after it's been made, it looks like somebody just threw the sucker together from about 3 feet away and wrapped the thing up. The hamburger's falling out of the bun. The sauce is all over the bun. You're messy just getting to it, especially if you get a Big Mac. It's not consistent. So again, I think the great thing about this is, number one, it makes the food consistent. Here's the second thing that I like about it. The robot is going to show up every single day for work. It's not going to call in sick. Now, some of you are probably thinking, yeah, but it's taking jobs away, but it's taking food out of people's mouths. And you know what I say? You know what I say to that? The reason why they're coming up with things like this is because people don't show up for work. And when they do work, they're on their phones or they're too busy to actually do something called work. All they're there to do is to clock in, do what they got to do to keep the job, and then go home. And they don't care about the fries being right. They don't care about the food being consistent. They don't care about the owner of the restaurant, because the owner of the restaurant's the one making all the money, and we're the ones out here suffering. And that is the language of people. And I think what's happened over the years is these mega restaurant companies, these corporate restaurant companies, are sick and tired of dealing with people that want $20 an hour who have no education whatsoever. And trust me, I'm not even about college education. To me personally, I think college education is great for your knowledge, but I also think it's a waste of time for the money that you have to spend to get it, because most people don't even do what they went to college for. And you're paying years and years and years back a loan that you didn't even need to begin with. But hey, if you go to college and you're doing your degree for what you went to school for, great, it worked out for you, but you're a very small percentage of most college students. So as far as the robots go, not only is White Castle doing it, they're getting ready to launch this stuff through a Subway, Chipotle, and there was one other, Taco Bell, I believe, is another one. They're starting to come up. Before you know it, you're going to be able to walk into a store, a fast food restaurant like a Subway or Chipotle or Taco Bell or White Castle, and the majority of your food is going to be made by a robot. And is that kind of scary? It is a little bit. It kind of freaks me out a little bit. There will be somebody still there. There will still be people there managing the robots and making sure they're working properly and taking care of customer service. But the great thing about it, instead of having 15 employees, you're only going to need 3. And I know some of you right now are just hating me because you're like, yeah, but it's taking jobs away. Guess what? Walmart's been doing it for a long time when it's called self-checkout. They still employ a lot of people. And guess what? They still have attendants standing around the self-employed. It's like you're self-employed. There's no doubt about it. Your self-checkout area. And they're still helping. It's not taking jobs away completely. I think it makes things better. That's just my opinion. It's more consistent, and people actually show up for work. If they don't want robots taking their jobs, then they should show up for work every single day and stop giving a million excuses of why you're not there. And that's just the way I see it. So let me know what you think. I only got a couple minutes left. And I'm just curious how you might feel about robots taking over the fast food industry. I mean, there's a lot of robots in the industry of mechanics, cars, just crazy stuff, the things that we don't even know about. Robots are building, making, putting things together. And I think it's because they get consistency in the product, and they get consistency in that robot showing up every single day. All right, let me know what you think in the chat. The last thing I want to talk about, I only got 2 minutes left, and I want to talk about an event that Roots Church is doing. I don't talk about Roots Church very often on here, only because I want the platform to be about the social, political, and biblical topics. However, when we have an event, I like to talk about the event. We have about 4 events a year, 4 big events a year. 3 of them are for our community. We do a huge Easter egg event called Egg Mania. That's for Easter time in the spring. In the fall, we do another huge event called Candy Mania. That's like a trunk or treat, but we take it to a whole nother level. And I know it's going to, it's supposed to rain Saturday, but this Saturday, today, at 4 o'clock today out in St. Clair, Missouri, we have an event called Candy Mania for all of your children from the age of baby, 0, all the way up to 18 years old. Come. We have free candy. Now, the goal is to have bounce houses and food trucks, and you're going to walk this path through the woods, and they're going to be stations set up of people decorated and have certain themes throughout the woods, and you're going to walk that and get candy throughout the woods, and we're going to have games for people on top of it. It's supposed to rain, so we may not be doing a few of those things, but what we are going to do is we're going to have, if it does rain and we cannot do the event outside, we're going to hold the event inside the church. We won't be able to do the bounce houses, won't be able to do the food trucks, but we're going to try to do some of the other things for sure. Definitely the candy walk where kids can come in, see the different people dressed up, and then get free candy. That's what it's about. It's just a safe way to go trick-or-treating with your children, and there's no bait and switch about it. We love you. We just want you to come. We want to put a full community event on for anybody in the area. And hey, if you look at Root Church and say, you know what, I'd like to check this place out, then we'd love for you to come on Sundays at 9 a.m., 11 a.m., or even on a Monday night at 7 p.m. Sound good to everybody? Well, have a great week. We'll see you guys next time.